Okay, good morning. It's Viewpoint, personalities, politicians, and perspectives. Boy, we've got another personality this morning, and a little perspective that goes along with it.
I hope
we'll
to
just forget the politician for a few minutes a day anyway. My gosh, we'll be glad when that's over. Kudos to start with. Well, the first thing, Mrs. Busby, I walk in the door here at these opulent studios of WLCN, and there is a nice cake for the old geezer. Said happy birthday. Well, a few days late, but what the heck, you know.
Hey, better late than never, man.
Well, the station's closed on Sunday, and that happened to be the day. So we appreciate that. And little cake, little goodies, and Mrs. Busby, the lady to my right, brought in some nice goodies. We appreciate that. And I had a wonderful card from Jeff number 2, I think. Had to do with Obama, and in the interest of trying to forget and have some decorum, we'll just move right along about that. Now, seriously. Oh, yeah, Lincoln College track team, regional, both men's and women, won the regional, so God love them for that.
Good deal.
Good for them. Now I have a serious one. Well, that's a serious matter, too. This is kudos to Tyler Huffman. Tyler works at Beck's Travel Plaza across from Hampton Inn out there in the west side of Lincoln. And last week, Tyler caught a man who had placed aluminum foil on a satellite dish on top of Beck's in an attempt to block a bogus credit card from accepting a large purchase at Beck's. Well, that's a new wrinkle. Hadn't thought about that. Anyway, Tyler chased the man down in his car down I-55, where he was able finally to get the suspect's license plate. And the dude was picked up by the police down on Williamsville. Well,
good for him.
Kudos to Tyler Huffman, by gosh.
But you know, the dude, as you refer to him here.
The dude.
Yeah, the dude, who shall remain nameless since we have no idea who he was, going down 55 after having robbed, actually, that's the bottom line, you know, in the final analysis, he robbed Beck's. Okay, but if he was smart enough to know that if you put aluminum foil on a satellite dish, you blocked the transfer of information. Thank you. That was a high-tech word for me.
It's called a signal.
See, he always
Radio 101.
How come he always gets to look smart? Okay, so if he was smart enough to know that, then he was smart enough to make a living, and he didn't have to steal things.
Well, now there's the point.
Of course, on the other hand, they say
if the guy's that smart, he'll be smart enough to hold a job somewhere.
Yeah, really. Except they say crime doesn't pay, but on the contrary, it pays very handsomely.
Yeah. Well, especially
until you get caught.
Immigrants, that's a crime.
Well, yeah.
Okay, one final time. St. John's United Church of Christ, they're going to have this little shindig for us, little powwow for the veterans Sunday, this coming Sunday, November the 4th, 5 to 7:30 at the Legion. So thanks again to St. John's. I think we may have a call, according to what I'm just getting a signal from Mr. Rash. You go right ahead, Mrs. Put your Chris if you want to, Chris, but yes, go ahead, caller.
Hi, I just wanted to wish Bill a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, how nice.
Well,
I hope you have a great day and happy Halloween.
Yeah, well, that's behind us now. We're going on for the big one. We're going to go for 90. We'll forget this one.
Oh, all right.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that nice call.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, that was very
nice.
That was very nice. Yeah, it kind of kicks the old man, huh? That's probably more than I got at home.
Well, you got plenty of sweets this morning here. Good grief.
By the way, last Sunday, Saturday night, it's kind of a start for the birthday. With another couple, we went over to Decatur to hear Red Lear's Powerhouse 5, a jazz group. Boy, they're outstanding. It's amazing to me, Judy and gentlemen, how these guys can just stand up there and each of them with their own individual instruments. And they play a few licks, and then they'll step back, and the other guy will step up forward. And just, not a note of music anywhere. What they may have is a list of the songs they may want to play during the course of the evening. That's it. And then just step up and blow away.
Yeah, just jam.
It's a God-given talent,
now,
which is honed by a lot of practice, by the way.
What was Joyce Kinsey's brother's name?
Yeah, Jerry.
No, it was either Dennis Or Roy. It's Roy Prohofsky.
That's right. He's
Roy
a trombone
Prohofsky.
player and a good trombone player.
Yeah, and he was real
Yeah,
good.
he plays with the Moldy Figs, I think.
That's right.
Yeah, and
That's
a
right.
group that I'm familiar with, which I'm familiar. I almost forgot that dangling preposition out there.
Don't
in the end.
let your
don't do that.
prepositions
All right.
dangle.
Well, all right. Oh, one final thing before I have you introduce. If you want to have a little fun, folks, and go back to when humor was just that, they had some real talent. You get on YouTube and just Google in Jonathan Winters or Foster Brooks. I tell you, I sat there in my office for a half hour yesterday laughing at these roasts that they used to do, the Dean Martin roast and so forth, and Foster Brooks with his drunk act and so forth.
Yeah.
And he's just so doggone clever with it. And Jonathan Winters gets up there and just wings it. Jack Parr handed him a stick and told him to use it as a prop, and he improvised that thing for about 20 minutes using that stick. And the facial expressions, get on there, folks. It's when talent was talent, and they really had some real artists. Oh, well, why don't you introduce our nice guest? This is just clairvoyance on our part that we booked this
really,
guy in today.
We pretty near broke our arms patting ourselves on the back all the way out here, thinking how honestly clever we were, Chris, to have you out here on the heels of Sandy. Here you are, a weather prognosticator of the first magnitude. And
Very first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
yeah, and a friend besides.
As a matter of fact, we can prove that.
Sure we can. Go do it.
Is the station producer ready to? We're going to clue in something here to tell you what a great predictor our guest Chris Miller is. Go right ahead, Mr. Ash.
If we continue this pattern of the rainfall being less than what we should typically get this time of the year, then chances are very high it's going to be a hot, dry summer. Because if we don't get that moisture in the ground, April and May, we are setting ourselves up for a drought.
That was last April, folks, for our prognosticator, Chris Miller, of the Lincoln Winters Weather Service, NOAA. So go right ahead,
right.
Kay.
Prognosticator exceptional.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you people at work had an exciting day yesterday watching this awfulness come up the coast.
Yeah, in fact, we were watching that for the past 5-6 days, whether or not, how that was going to come in, how it was going to be impacted. And one of our computer models, I think it was middle part of last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, I can't remember the day now, was indicating that it was going to make that sharp turn into the coast. And thought, okay, we need, they need to watch this one pretty closely. And, typically for us, when there's a hurricane on the East Coast, our weather, whatever we're having at the time when it moves up the coast, we're just stuck in that. We just sit in a standstill because nothing can move from west to east. And we saw that big high pressure near us with cool weather but sunny, and we thought, okay, we're going to be in that for the next week. But my goodness, they just they got hit so hard on the coast with this one. It's been a long time since the East Coast had a hurricane of that magnitude strike. And in fact, as hurricanes go, it was the hurricanes are ranked on a scale, and it was on the weaker end of the scale, but still you could see what it did because of the sheer size of it. It was huge. Sometimes hurricanes are smaller and compact, and they affect a certain area within a few hundred miles of where they hit. This one was just spread over hundreds of miles and affected so many states.
Well, clear to Chicago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The high winds from that brought because they came down from the north, down the whole length of Lake Michigan. The waves out in the open waters of Lake Michigan, not near the shores, but out in the middle of the lake, were around 20 feet, 25 feet high.
That's something.
Which
on
was
an inland lake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's really something.
And some of the data, they call them buoys that are out in the lake that measure the wave heights and temperature and things like that. I heard at one point yesterday it was the second highest on record in the middle of Lake Michigan. So a lot of beach erosion on the south end of Lake Michigan, very high wind speeds, and so it affected the eastern half of the country.
And then a real blizzard on the west side of the big hurricane.
Exactly. Yeah, in the Appalachians, parts of West Virginia
Yeah.
had 2.5 feet of snow.
Think of that.
There was snow as far west as actually they did get some light snow in parts of Indiana yesterday and some sleet, but measurable snow in Ohio down into Kentucky. So you don't often see that with a hurricane. Usually only the late season hurricanes are going to do that. And hurricane season goes right through November, so there's another month to go with this yet. But it was definitely a powerful one, and one that had a huge impact as far as population, numbers of people affected, power
my.
out, still
Yeah.
millions of people without power.
It's amazing, just amazing.
yeah.
You talk about the power of the winds. Thousands of us at one point in time in our life, as George Goebbels was during this great funny line about the World War II, and he was being interviewed, and he was a pilot, and he said, that was the Second War. He says, you remember that, it was in all the papers. Well, thousands of us were in the North Atlantic and have seen North Atlantic storms and seen those huge waves, and that was awfully impressive.
Yeah.
Except so impressive they put us all below and told us we couldn't come up on topside. But to think that those waves hitting these beaches and a lot of homes, I just always never cease to be amazed at the fact that people would build their homes right down next to the water out on the Atlantic on the East Coast.
Yeah,
it's just an amazing thing.
And that's the thing. Some people will ask whether or not hurricanes and storms like this are getting worse. The storms themselves are not getting more frequent or getting worse per se, but what is the impact. The impact is getting worse because more and more people are in the path of these storms, especially on the coast.
Yeah.
Well, especially up there on the northeast. My gosh.
Yes.
Chris, as a...
What's happening?
Do I have a call? Okay. You want to take a call now? Yeah. All right. Thank you, sir.
Oh.
Just about dropped everything here. Go right ahead, caller. Thank you.
Hi, how are you, Bob?
Good
This is
morning.
Catherine Muck. Good morning.
Yes, thank you for calling. Catherine?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi.
You want to tell us about those shoe boxes, don't you?
I sure do.
Well, we're glad to have you call.
Thank you. I just want to let you know that we're still collecting items through Friday at Muck and Muck Law Office, State Bank of Lincoln, and Logan County Bank. And some items we're really in need of is baby powder and the loofahs, actually.
Okay.
And I went to the local schools have done a wonderful job with the boxes. The kids have really stepped up and gotten involved with this project.
Now, Catherine, it wouldn't be untoward if somebody didn't have time to get one together, but you'd be very happy to receive a check at the State Bank or the Muck Law Office in the amount of up to $50. No, anybody would like to create a little something for that. Be very nice for them to bring a check into your office or to mother's and dad's office, and that would be, $20-25 would help.
Sure, yeah. If they make it up to cash, we could go to Walmart and fill up the boxes with the items that these sailors could really use on the ship.
Well, that'd be an easy way for somebody to do something very nice for a bunch of guys who are doing a lot for our country.
Exactly, I totally agree.
Thank you very much, Kathy. We appreciate that call and a reminder.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Have
bye-bye.
a nice day.
Thank you a lot for your work, too. Well, that was nice. They are working hard. You know what that is, Chris.
Sure.
These submariners are going out there. And, boy, I take my hat off. I had a cousin who was in the early atomic subs, and they had the blue crew and the gold crew. And they'd go out for like a year at a time.
Sure.
Big deal.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, a young man that we know. I'll give kudos to him, Wes Schrader.
He's the one who's pushing that thing.
That's right.
Through the Muck family and so forth.
Yeah.
Kathy just got this idea, and she decided to pick it up. Now, there's a good example of somebody making a difference.
That's right.
An individual making a difference, and probably going to make a big impact on some maybe 70 guys who might not get packages when they're 5 months at sea. Yeah. So we thank her very, very much for that. Yeah. Chris, back to the weather. As a meteorologist, what do you think of the AccuWeather site on the internet?
Well, there are a lot of private forecasting companies out there. AccuWeather's just one of them. They happen to be the biggest one.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, and there are many others. You know, the Weather Channel, that's a private entity as well. You know, they definitely have a place in providing information, specific information to folks. These companies have a lot of clients that can that they give specific information to. For example, you know, major league ballparks, if they need to, baseball season's just over, but you know, them or football, a lot of these places have contracts with companies like that, and they watch just that one specific location.
I see.
For, you know, is lightning threatening? Is there a storm that they need to be concerned about? When is the, you know, rain going to end for a rain delay? That type of thing. That's the type of thing that where they really provide a good service. Where, you know, we cover more of a, you know, we cover a bigger area. We cover 35 counties in central and eastern Illinois, and not so much pinpointing specific locations. But that's their niche in the whole.
Now, when I open up my Safari, I get local weather. That's your folks. That's your station that they're using.
If there's local weather conditions on there, you know, it says like what the temperature is and such. That's out at our airport here. There's an automated weather system out there. That's actually run and maintained by the FAA.
Okay.
Yeah, we watch it. You know, if they're obviously, you know, we watch all the weather data all across the area and all across the state and the Midwest. And if there's something that's kind of askew, because sometimes these automated systems will go a little crazy, and maybe they'll have a bad temperature or the wind speed won't, you know, really be representative of what's going on. Well, then we'll contact them and say, you know, hey, you need to send a technician out there and take a look at it. So
now,
that's what comes up on your.
Can we dial up your station directly on internet?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, let's have that internet address.
Yeah, and it's really easy to get to. Also, our webpage, just spell out the word weather, WEATHER, weather.gov, since we're part of the government. So weather.gov. We'll go to the Maine National Weather Service webpage. If you want to write specific to us, right after the GOV, put a slash and then type out the word Lincoln.
And then you're right here.
And you're right here. You're right at, you've got everything. You got radar, you got forecasts for the next 7 days, warnings, anything you want about the weather, climate information.
So it gets precise with weather.gov.
Weather.gov/Lincoln.
But spell weather the right way, because
That's
if you spell WHETHER, you're going to not get it.
You might go somewhere else.
Or don't put down WX. That won't work very well.
No, that won't.
Well,
only a few people know about that too.
I'm sure, particularly our farm friends, use that a great deal.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and how far out do you predict?
We predict.
Well, he predicts from April to. We know what he does.
Through the summer, yes.
6 months, right? Yeah. We predict out to 7 days. So if you went there right now, you know, you'd get the forecast for today all the way into next Tuesday. So, and not only that, we have specific information in there as well. Let's say, for example, somebody is in the time of the year where they're going to do some spraying, or even for a lot of people with the construction industry tell me that they'll go there and check to see what time the rain is going to move in, and we have a section in there where we do hourly weather forecasts of temperature and humidity and wind speed, and you know when the rain's going to start and all that kind of stuff.
So if a guy wants to pour concrete, wants to make doggone sure he's going to have a dry time to do that.
That's right. That's right. That's the place to go.
Now, if anybody has any more questions at all about the East Coast's bad run of weather here, please feel free to give us a call at 648-5510. Otherwise, let's talk about, as the seasons change now, I hope we're not looking to another non-winter. Because we sure had one last year.
Oh, we did. Yeah,
and
definitely.
Did we pay for that? I mean, is there any correlation to that, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the fact that we really didn't have much of a winter last year probably was the first indication we had that we were heading into this big drought. Because we had strung together several months. If we go back to August of 2011 and run that through the winter, there was only 1 month in there, and I believe it was November, if I'm not mistaken, where we had above normal precipitation here. Otherwise, temperatures were warmer than normal. The ground was getting drier and drier. And it was great for 2011 because the dryness came it came early enough in the fall where everybody could get into the fields. Things dried out really good. You get the crop out. Didn't have to spend a lot of money on drying and stuff like that. So, but what it ended up doing is it continued on too long, and we could kind of see the handwriting on the wall, so to speak. And that's why I had mentioned back in April, where we came out of the warmest March ever. I mean, and just we blew the records out of the water as far as how warm it was in March, and dry. And that just continued. So there was a direct correlation there. This year, a lot of people are asking, well, is the drought over going into the winter? Well, it kind of depends on how you look at it, because overall, I would say, no, we're not out of the woods yet. Because even though another hurricane, Hurricane Isaac, had come up into this area around Labor Day weekend, gave us some very beneficial rains. That was not enough to end the drought. We had a dent. And we've had above normal rainfall now for September, and I just checked before I came in today, October is going to end up 3 inches above normal for rainfall.
And
so
thank
that's
you
good.
God for that.
Yeah, exactly. But we need to continue that trend through November and then through the winter to really say that, okay, we're making a much more significant
our water table is
dent.
still very low.
Still very low. Still very low. And in fact, a lot of folks with wells still are having some problems.
Yeah.
The soil moisture is really in those first few inches. It's not really getting down through the soil. When we see droughts of this magnitude, they typically last for a couple of years around here in Illinois. Sometimes, now we haven't seen one go more than 3 years. We're about a year and a half into this one now, because technically this one really started for us late last summer, so we're almost a year and a half in. That being said, what are we looking at for this winter? Well, right now it's looking like temperatures, we've kind of flipped our weather pattern here, and temperatures are more in the below normal range. So I've heard a lot of people say, well, I hear it's going to be a really rough winter. Temperature-wise, it does look like it's going to be a colder winter. The thing we got to keep in mind about snow and rain and precipitation we get in the winter is December, January, and February are the 3 driest months that we typically have on the calendar. So we can't really rely on those 3 months to get a lot of moisture to recharge the soil. Even if we get a lot of snow, the snow blows around, and by the time it melts, not a lot of that is getting down deep.
What do they say,
So,
7 inches of snow to 1 inch of water?
12, around here it's 12 to 13.
Snow.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and it depends on what part of the country you're in.
And how many
Here it's-
years since we've had 12 inches of snow?
Oh, yeah.
Well, got to go back a couple of years,
Yeah.
but that's so we also have to get water back into the creeks and streams
Yes.
and
Yeah.
lakes. So
I presume that the entomologist would have something to say about the bugs and so forth, because it wasn't cold enough to kill them down there. Would that be a fair statement?
yeah, yes, yeah, exactly. And we're thinking that with this winter being colder, we should help take care of that issue at least. But precipitation-wise, I don't think it doesn't look like we're going to see anything too far out of the normal here. But we're still, we're hoping that this upcoming month, November, we get a lot of rainfall, because that'll help for the spring. Before we get that really hard freeze that locks it all in, we can at least get it in the level of the soil where when planting comes in the spring, there'll be something there.
Speaking of killing and
So-
killing frost and so forth, we're going to get frosted if we don't pay a little obeisance to our sponsors this morning, and we're going to turn that over to the producer, Mr. Ash, right now.